Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. And not only thank you, but I want to thank the state party of the Vermont Democratic Party for endorsing me on Saturday. It's very gratifying to get the support of the party that I've supported for so long. Now, since I began running for Lieutenant Governor, I've been traveling the state, talking to voters. Every hardworking Vermonter that I met is concerned about the economy. They're wondering, why doesn't this economy work for me? We have low unemployment. I'm working hard. I'm more productive than I've ever been. And yet still, I'm struggling to maintain my place in the world. How can this be possible in the wealthiest country on earth? How can this be possible when we have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the country? We need to look for new economic approaches. So this campaign is going to focus on economic policy. Economic policies that maybe some people haven't thought of before. But they're ideas that's going to help to spread prosperity among all Vermonters, to help Vermonters to maintain their place in the middle class, to give hope to people who are struggling at poverty level or near poverty level. It's time for us to start to look at ways to spread wealth in America. And I believe we can start right here in the state of Vermont. We need to discuss ways to help workers to save for retirement, to save for the down payment on a house, to save for their children's college educations. We have to encourage employee-owned businesses, benefit corporations, and community ownership of things, because this is how we will build wealth for the people. And together, we can do this, because it has to do with changing some rules. And if we work together, we can change those rules. So it's going to take a lot of time and effort to change these things, because these economic policies that we're living with now have been going on for many years. And so it will take time to change them. Right now, what's going on is increasingly more and more wealth goes to the upper class. More and more wealth is going to the wealthiest people in this country. And so what we need to do is to use some of the techniques that this economy uses to build wealth for the wealthy to benefit more people in Vermont. This campaign is not politics as usual. This is politics as unusual. Campaign finance reform that was made this year by the legislature made public financing viable. It hasn't been used in 10 years because there was not enough money available to compete against conventional fundraising. They changed that. This year, it's enough money to compete. And so, I'm asking Vermonters who believe that we need to change our economy to benefit them. I'm asking the Vermonters who believe that we have too much money in politics and we need to start changing that. I'm asking those Vermonters to contribute a few of their hard-earned dollars to help me to attain public financing. I want them to join the grandmother living on $600 worth of Social Security who came up and said, I believe what you're saying, here's $5. I got a contribution from a retiree who's working part-time who said, here's $10. I wish it could be more. Or the musician who gave me one single dollar, but took a pile of my cards and said, you know what? I've given you all the money I can, but I'm going to tell all my friends because they need to help you run for election. These people are not contributing because they believe in me. They're not contributing because they think they know who I am. They're contributing because they understand what I'm talking about. Now, it's clear that money in politics is like a snake wrapped around our democracy. It's growing and it's squeezing ever tighter. Public financing is a way for us to loosen that grip, to make change, to make publicly elected officials elected using public money. Because what's happened now, in lieu of the Supreme Court decisions of McCutcheon and Citizens United, is we now have corporate financed candidates. The media reports on the money race, handicapping our elections. My goal is that on June 13th, after we file for public financing, the media is going to be reporting that the people of Vermont, the working people of Vermont, have spoken and have joined together to elect a candidate who's not beholden to multinational corporations, millionaires, and billionaires. That public financing is going to make our democracy stronger. However successful I am at running for lieutenant governor, I will never stop talking about the need for economic change. I will never stop talking about the need to make our society stronger, make our communities stronger. I am appalled at the fact that there's so much money in this country, and we're talking about cutting money for our schools. I'm absolutely appalled that we have so much money in this country, and we are knocking the legs out of every social program that we have to support our less fortunate people. It's time for us to make this economy work for everyone, not just a few. And I'm asking you to join me in that effort. Thank you. Well, aside from the hammers and wrenches, every politician needs to start talking about these issues. Every politician needs to start talking about the well-being of every Vermonter and how we need to change the economy. But as Lieutenant Governor, of course, you sit on the committee of committees, which means you can help to decide who sits on what committee, which helps to dictate public policy. You're also working every day with legislators to talk with them about the important issues. Not only that, but the Lieutenant Governor's office is a great place right here in the Statehouse where we can bring people together to seek new solutions. You know, it's not the people in the system who are corrupt. It is the system which is corrupt. The Democratic Party, our current legislators on all sides, progressive, Republican, Democrat, they're all just working with the rules that are available today. What I'm doing is working with the rules that are available today. What I'm saying is that we need to change the rules. I believe the Democratic Party is walking the walk. You know, what I'm doing is unusual. It's outside of the normal campaign regime. I can't answer for the Democratic Party and what they do. I can't answer for any candidate and what they do. I can only answer for what I'm doing. And what I'm doing is asking for public financing from the voters of Vermont. What the party does is beyond what I do. They operate independently of me. I'm running as a Democrat because I've always been a Democrat. I believe in the democratic principles as they were from Hubert Humphrey through Jimmy Carter through today. I'm not interested, I won't be colluding with the Democratic Party. They will work independent of me as they always do. They work independently of all candidates. I don't know that if there was any one or two or three formative events that got me to this way of thinking. It's just sort of the way I evolved and the way I've always thought. Now, I grew up in the 60s, and one of the formative things that happened in my childhood was the assassination of John F. Kennedy, followed by his brother Robert's assassination, followed by the death of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. These people were all giants, standing up bravely for the people of Vermont. Martin Luther King died talking about the need for economic change in 1968. It's worse now. If that happens, then I will run a campaign based on the contributions of the voters of Vermont. I mean, I have no choice. The issues are not going to go away. They're not going to evaporate just because I don't reach public financing. I'm confident I'm going to get public financing. And if that happens, then I will have to reach out again to voters to contribute to my campaign, just as other candidates do. I will not take money from corporations.
terms of affiliation?
Because I've been a Democrat since I wore a Humphrey button in 1968. I mean, I've been aligned with the Democratic Party and what they stand for my entire life. The Progressive Party, I admire their stance. I admire what they do. I am a Democrat. I think it's going to make for a great conversation, and I hope every Vermonter gets a chance to get involved and listen to it. I'm looking forward to talking with the current Lieutenant Governor about his stance on issues.
Any particular areas where you differ?
Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I suspect that his economic policies are a bit different than mine. I'm focused on the issues. I'm focused on the need for economic change in this country and in this state. I mean, we're doing very well in Vermont compared to the rest of the country, but that doesn't mean this country is doing very well. And I think that we need to stand up and start talking about different forms of spreading economic wealth. Well, I think the governor's doing what he can, and I'm looking forward to helping him in his pursuits. But that would be a good question for the governor. As far as what do I think about what he's doing, like he's doing the best he can with what he has.
Any concerns with policies or initiatives that he's rolled out since he?
Not that I'm ready to discuss today. Well, I fully support single-payer health care, and I'm interested in removing as many barriers to getting adequate health care as possible.
How about school consolidation?
You know, there are a lot of difficult issues that we have, school consolidation being a good illustration, where we really need to engage the communities in discussion. I think that a mediated approach is the best way to go as far as consolidation. What we have to keep in mind are the goals that we want to reach, and that, to me, would be the best education for our children. Well, okay, just as a candidate for Lieutenant Governor, I've made phone calls to people who are interested in economic policy and change, and they take my phone call and they talk with me. I would suspect that as Lieutenant Governor, I would have the same or better access to people with ideas. You know, the Lieutenant Governor's office is a great place to work for change. And that's what I want to do with it. I think that there are tools available. I've never been Lieutenant Governor before, so I'm looking forward to see what becomes available, because somehow, some way, I think it's going to exceed my imagination. I think exploring the state bank idea is a good idea. I liked Senator Polina's proposal to invest 10% of our funds in a state bank to see if it works. I think that we could easily put a time limit to make a decision and reevaluate. It's worth exploring. I mean, there's a reason why banks are becoming wealthier and wealthier. They're gaining all of the profits. If we can find a way for those profits to be safely gained by Vermont, I'm all about it. The first thing I would look forward to is having a conversation with those people. They've been working on these issues for years. I haven't been working on tax issues for years. So the first thing I would like to do is explore their ideas and see what they think, and see what I can support and what I can't. I mean, you have to understand the legislature and the administration of this state are doing a good job given the economic realities. I'm hoping that I can change the economic realities. Well, that's exactly my point. It's not, I don't think that it's a taxation issue. I think what it is there's a lot of money in our economy that just goes to Wall Street, and it's just shooting out of the state and up into the upper echelon, up into the stratosphere of people who control money. And I think that we need to find ways so that instead of investing in stocks and bonds, we can invest in our neighbors.
So Vermonters would basically, instead of paying taxes, invest in themselves? Is it?
I think that perhaps there may be tax policies, but the goal is for Vermonters to invest in Vermont. There's a concept called intrastate investment, which has to do with Vermonters investing in Vermont businesses. It has nothing to do with interstate, which is what the SEC controls. If we can strengthen the rules and change the rules for intrastate investment, make it easier for Vermonters to invest in their neighbors, we're going to keep more money in this state.
There's a pent-up demand for that investment among investors?
Well, I'll tell you what. I know at least one small business owner in 2008 who had to fight for 5 years to maintain his business because he could not get access to cash after the crash. Now, if we have investment in the state of Vermont, in funds perhaps that are designed to support businesses, then we are going to insulate ourselves from future economic tsunamis like that.
Is there barriers to angel investors and stuff that you see? Is that what you're talking about?
I do see barriers to angel investors. I think that it's hard for angel investors, aside from a traditional sort of hedge fund startup routine, I think it's really hard for business. It's hard for the local cafe who wants to expand into the next room to gather cash to do that. And I think that those are the kind of places where we can add a couple more jobs here and a couple more jobs there. And cumulatively, I mean, most of our new jobs created in Vermont are small businesses. They're not coming from multinational corporations that we attract here. Small businesses, 3 actually. 1 I turned into a 501c3 nonprofit. I've been a worker all my life, hourly employee most of the time. When I moved to Vermont, they said you had to work 2 jobs in order to stay here. It's an old joke, but it's true. I think it would be nice if working families had a little more time to spend with their children. I think that the key is to have more cash in the economy so people can work, make more money. We could raise the standard of living in this state. By lowering the cost of living is one way we can do it. I mean, investing in our infrastructure, investing in rapid transit, mass transit, investing in insulating our homes. These are all ways where it lowers the cost of ownership. It lowers the cost of living. Perhaps we can get to a point where you only have to work 1 job to stay in